Hello friends, and welcome back to another monthly book wrap up. Now I am doing 2 months in one because I've kind of been in a bit of a slump, so I hadn't read a whole heap of books in June, and so I figured I would just wait until the end of July and then do June and July together. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I read 8 books over the 2 months, so like 4 each month, which honestly is like my aim for the year, I guess, anyway, because my aim is to read like 50 books this year, so roughly a book a week. So I've been averaging what my goal was, but I think after the last 2 months it felt like suddenly I was reading nothing, and I've just been taking a long time to get through all my books. And I don't know if it's because motherhood has sort of been a little bit busier or I've had less downtime. I don't really know, but I haven't read as much in the past couple of months. But all of the books that I've read, other than like, they've all been like 4 stars or 5 stars. So I think it's me, not the books. That's the problem. But if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kirsty. I'm 26. I live in Adelaide with my gorgeous little family. I do weekly vlogs and vlog my life every week, and then add in some book content whenever I get the chance. Obviously, it's not as often as I would like, as I'm a very busy mum of 2 little girls, so things are a little bit crazy. But I do love talking books. I love having a little book community here, and I love talking to all of you about the books that I'm reading. So let's talk about some books. The first book I read was Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about her a million times already, I love her books. I read Next of Kin like a couple of months ago, and then read Next to You, which is like an interconnecting standalone. So it's characters from Next of Kin in Next of You. So we follow Lane and Matt, and Lane is like a edgy bisexual. She's got pink short hair. She's really cool, but gets quite bad anxiety, and she is deciding to buy a bus basically, and wants to then renovate it and like live in it. And so Matt works with the guy from the first book, I can't even remember his name anymore, but works with him at their, like, they have a auto repair shop, and so he decides to help her renovate this bus. And it was really good, not as good as her other books that I have read so far. I rated it a 4 star, like it was still very good and I enjoyed it a lot, but yeah, it wasn't like a 5 star. But I loved it, would recommend. It's a lot of fun. I love the way Hannah Bonham Young writes characters and writes dialogue and writes people's emotions. I think she does a really good job at like showing good representation of a very varied people, and instead of everyone just being like, I don't know how to explain what I love about her writing, but she just makes everyone seem very normal in the way that books make everyone seem perfect, if that makes sense. Like, she creates characters that are so diverse and just like more the type of people we actually run into in day-to-day life, and I just love that. And they're just so multifaceted. She just does a really good job, and so I enjoy everything I'm reading by her. So I loved it. Not as good as the first one, but still very good. Highly recommend. The second book I read was Tragic, and that is a 3rd book, I think, in the Lark Cove series by Devney Perry. And I love this. I gave it a 4 stars as well. This one follows Piper and Kane. Piper moves to Lark Cove, and they have sort of like big properties next to each other. And so she has moved to Lark Cove because she has just gotten a divorce and she's ready to sort of just start over. She loves the house that she's got, and she's like renovating it and redoing it and stuff, and is ready to just like have a project and just like live her best life. And Kane is super grumpy, and they don't really get along as neighbors at the beginning, and then, you know, it goes from there. I just love the way Devney Perry writes her stories and writes characters, and I love a small town romance. I had so much fun reading this and highly recommend as well. Then I went into a thriller and I read The Housemate by Freida McFadden, and I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. I devoured this in like 24 hours. It was so good. I feel like everyone has been reading Freida McFadden lately because she's just, I don't know how she does it, but she just writes in a way that is like so addictive. And so if you don't know what The Housemate is about, it is about a girl who goes and becomes a housemaid at this rich family's house, and she has a criminal record, so she's really struggled to find work, but for parole she needs to have work, sort of thing. And you never know what she has done to have time in prison, but she ends up getting a job at for this rich family to be their like live-in housemaid, so she lives there as well. And basically they're crazy, like absolutely insane. And so you just follow her story, and all these crazy wild things happen, and it's just epic. It kind of gives me Verity vibes without the whole like kid baby situation, but it's just so good and I loved it, and I would recommend it to anyone. I then read Tinsel and Timeless. They're the next two books in the Lark Cove series. Tinsel is about Sophia and Dakota. I absolutely loved this one. I don't know what it was, but Sophia, she lives in New York and is like basically just living off her family's money. She has never worked a day in her life. She's just living off family money. Bit of an influencer vibe, like just gets paid to take some photos and does a little bit of modeling, just like living rich people lives, really. But she gets made to come and work. She basically comes to Lark Cove to visit her brother, who is the main guy in like the first Lark Cove book. Comes to visit him because she's having a bit of like an identity crisis because everyone's always just telling her she's a spoiled brat and that she's got nowhere to go in life and blah, blah, blah. So she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to escape. She had like, there was a big press story. She did like a magazine interview and they basically twisted her words. So she was really embarrassed because this like kind of like expose thing came out about her when it was supposed to be like a nice interview. And so she's like, I need to get out of here. I'm going to go visit my brother in like the middle of nowhere, basically in a small town. So she goes, visits him, and he's actually about to go away for New Year's. He's surprising his wife. So he's like, hey, can you actually just help run the bar for a few days? Like his wife runs the local pub. And he's like, can you just actually help out for a few days? And she's like, what? Well, actually, what was it? She had never worked a day in her life and now she's going to be scrubbing floors and pouring beers. So it was actually the wife suggested she do that, but whatever. So she goes and the bartender, Dakota, is like, oh, this is really not convenient for me. She's actually going to slow me down. Like New Year's is the busiest time of year. She's actually just going to make this harder for her. Obviously, they kind of get off on the wrong foot because she doesn't really want to be there. He doesn't need her there. But she's like, I'm going to try really hard. Like I want to, like, I don't want to just get in your way. I want to try really hard. And it's really sweet. Like she is like trying to work after never working like a single day in her life and just like doesn't even know how to do very mediocre things. And obviously it goes from there. It's so good. I loved this one. 4.5 stars. Love. And then I read Heartless as well, which is the next one. That one follows Aubrey, who's Sophia's sister, and her love interest Landon. Now, I can't even really remember much about this one. I rated it a 3-star. I don't know why. I just did not have the same connection. Aubrey, again, lives like in New York, but she is like the CEO or like high up working her way to be CEO of their family business. So Sophia had just been like living off the family money. The original brother, I can't remember his name anymore, but he like works for the family as well. And Aubrey is like wanting to run the family company. And so she is like an absolute workaholic, doesn't have time for relationships, like is a bit of a, yeah, she's just not the best. But Landon then comes into her office and is like trying to make her chill out basically. And honestly, that's all I remember about it. I remember like I enjoyed it at the time, but I can't remember any more of the story. So it clearly wasn't that great. I obviously love Devney Perry books, but I feel like in every series there's like one book that I don't love as much, which is so fine. But that was the one. So it wasn't my favorite in the series at all, but I have loved the Lark Cove series. Like, highly recommend. I'm going to have to buy the physical copies because I love the way they look. But all of Devney Perry's books are on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a Kindle, highly recommend jumping on. Like the Eden series I have loved, the Calamity Montana series I have loved, and now this series I have loved as well. The Lark Cove series. Then I read Crimson River, which I actually haven't written down here. How did I miss that? Which is the fifth book? I think it's the 5th book in the Eden series by Devney Perry. It came out in June or July, I think June, and I loved this. It was a little bit more of a suspense romance and it was really good. So this one was about Lila, who owns the coffee shop in the small town of Quincy, and basically at the very start of the book something happens to her and she ends up kind of traumatized by it, which was not what I expected at all. I don't know why I didn't expect it because the first Eden's book is a little bit of a suspense as well, but I didn't expect another one. I don't know why. But basically she is then like struggling, and then this guy comes to town and he is kind of trying to solve what happened to her. And so they kind of try and help each other and figure out like what's happening, and I don't want to go into too many details because it will spoil it, but it was really good. I gave it a 4 stars. I devoured it. I loved it. Not my favorite of the Edens, but very high up there. It was really good. And yeah, I have really, really enjoyed the Eden series. There's only one more book and it comes out in December, and then I'll be finished with that one. And I think with the Calamity Montana series, there's one more coming out this month in August and one coming out next year. And then I think that's done as well. But then I will have had 3 finished series by Devney Perry. I really need to just buy all the physical books. They're all sitting like on my Amazon wish list so that I can get my family to buy them for me, like birthdays and Christmas and stuff. Because I'm like, I want to own them because I've loved them all. But because they've been on Kindle Unlimited, I've just read them without buying them. So yeah, on my list is to get all of the Devney Perry books that I have read because I have loved like all of them, which is stunning. Then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver, which is the 2nd book in the Chestnut Springs series, which I actually have a physical copy of which I absolutely love. Like, these covers are so cute, and this book I actually loved. I think going into it, it wasn't, wow, this is 470 pages. No wonder I didn't read many books. All of the books I've read have been big books. So I got distracted then. I went into this initially not obsessed with it. It's a single dad trope, which is one of my favorite tropes ever. I love single parent tropes, and something about single dads just gets me. So I was like not sure at the start, because for some reason I just wasn't connecting. I don't know if it was her that I wasn't connecting to. I think her name was Willa, yeah. I don't know, Willa was like not my favorite character ever for a minute there, but I ended up actually being obsessed with her. And so yeah, I don't know, I started off this book not expecting it to be that good. I think everyone says that this is their least favorite of the series, so I was like, oh, okay, like not really having high expectations. And I think I liked this more than Flawless in the end, because I just loved the kid. I loved Cade. I loved Willa. She is the nanny. So she is best friends with the girl from the first book, and she gets hired to be the nanny over the summer for Cade's son. And I just love the like small town vibes, the ranch, like it just all is stunning. I love the setting. I love all the other characters, the side characters. It's just so good, and I actually cannot recommend this enough. I gave this one a 5-star. I definitely liked it more than Flawless, and I just thought it was amazing. So big fan of this one, and I think I'm in like the minority of having this as my favorite, because everyone says that like this is their least favorite. So I'm very excited to start the third one and then the fourth one as well. I own the third one. I need to buy the fourth one, but it's like really expensive on Kindle, on Amazon. So we'll see. That might take a little bit of time because it's like a lot to justify, but highly recommend the Chestnut Springs series. These books are so good, and just like something a bit different. I mean, not for me. I love a small town romance, but like cowboy romance is just a bit different, because Cade like runs their ranch, and so he needs help with his kid over the summer because he's still going to work, but his kid's obviously not at school, and so Willa nannies him, and blah blah blah. It's just so good. I highly recommend. Then I jumped into The Housemaid Secret, which is the second book after The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, and again I just devoured this. I read it within like 2 or 3 days. Loved it. It was a little bit longer, I think, but yeah, same girl going to work for another family, and just crazy things happen again. I actually think it was maybe even better than the first, and because I was really worried that it was going to be like the same story again, because that's sort of how it was set up after the first one, but it wasn't at all. It ended up being very different. Really good. She has just so much going on, and it's really a bloody good book. 5 stars again, would highly recommend. I just devoured it. They're good little palette cleanser books if you're looking for something different. If you're reading a lot of romance or a lot of one genre, going to a thriller is just like next level. Like, it's just so much fun, and it's so fast paced, and you just need to know what's going to happen next. Like, every time I was like, oh, I should go to sleep, and then I just kept reading. So I highly recommend The Housemaid Secret again after reading The Housemaid. Then, my favorite book probably all year. This is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. Oh my gosh, this story. What I love about this story is there's no third act breakup. And it's not a spoiler because it says it all over Hannah Bonham Young's Instagram, like when it is saying all the themes and the tropes in this book, it says no third act breakup. It's a slow burn, which I personally love. It is a one night stand turns pregnancy book, but done so differently, because the whole book is her pregnancy. In like the timing of it, like they meet and have a one night stand at Halloween, and then it goes from there pretty much up until the baby's born, which I love. So like the whole thing, obviously I love pregnancy, I love babies, I love all of that stuff, so to me that's already like a big tick. But both of these characters also have limb differences. So Beau, the male main character, has only one leg, and you find out why throughout the story. And Win, oh, I love her. She's so sweet. Win has her hand is very small. I don't want to explain it wrong, but basically the author who wrote this book, Hannah Bonham Young, she has the exact limb difference which she writes about. And she says, she has like an author's note before the book. I, like Win, was born with a limb difference. I have a less developed right hand that is identical to Win's as described in this book. And while I've tried my best throughout life to not let it hold me back, it certainly has created challenges. I've always found myself attempting to perform things in private that I'll be expected to do in public. Things as small as buttoning a new pair of pants or typing to take notes in class. And I'm just like, oh. And so, yeah, I cannot recommend this book enough. This was a 5-star to me, and not in the way that like it's the most revolutionary story in the world. It's so much crazy stuff happening. It's just so sweet and wholesome, and people who have struggled with hard things in life getting a happily ever after, and just going through a lot and being open and accepting. And it has some real raw emotions of pregnancy, and it's just incredible, and I just cannot recommend it enough. 5 star. Please go read this, and then let me know when you've read it, because I need to talk to everyone about this book. Rachel Catherine, I'm waiting for you. I am waiting for you because I think you will love this. I've already recommended it to her. But I just love the way Hannah Bonham Young, as I've mentioned a million times, writes characters, writes dialogue, writes stories. I just love her, and this book was no exception. And I read it really slowly because I didn't want it to end. I could have just hung out with Win and Bo for months because I just love them. And obviously they're not going to need a second book, but I'm like, I would love to read more about them. Like, I would just read about them, their life. Like, it wouldn't even need to be like necessarily a love story or anything. I would just love to read about them more because I love them. And that's... Something just fell off my kitchen counter. That was terrifying. That's the last book that I have finished so far. And so I hope you enjoyed listening to all of the books I read in June and July. I always have my Amazon wishlist down below. Obviously there's no pressure. I also have recently started a bookstagram if anyone would like to follow. I'm not as active as I would like to be on there, but it is good. Like, I just update what I'm reading at the time, so you can follow in real time instead of me posting it on my normal Instagram all the time, because I felt like I was getting a bit annoying with book content on my regular page. So yeah, that's my book wrap up for June and July. I am already having a better month in August as far as like reading books, so I'm very excited for my wrap up already, and I have a reading vlog coming very soon. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in my next video, which will be very soon. Bye.